All right, we're closing in on 2 weeks from the NBA draft. Golden State Warriors have the 41st pick. I've kind of ran you through some of my dream scenarios, but realistic picks that could be on the table. Couple that the Warriors have worked out, kind of a wild card guy that I think Steve Kerr could like. I'll give you these 3 names coming up on the show, with one of them potentially being Mike Dunleavy's guy. And if he's there, I'd kind of put my money on him being the Warriors draft pick. I'll tell you who that is coming up on today's show.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Locked On Warriors. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, streaming Monday through Friday, live after games, live after preseason, and breaking news. We're always going live. Hop in the chat, tell us what's up, hop in the comments on YouTube and wherever you get your audio podcasts. Appreciate you for joining us. The show is very easy to find. Just search Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Charlie Walter, formerly at 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area. That's the flagship radio station for Golden State Warriors basketball. Also cover the team for CBS News Bay Area. Call letters KPIX. On today's show, if you're watching on YouTube, producer Air, not Eric Pincus, just me, Ryan Stagg on today's show. And what we have, I'll tell you who I think Mike Dunleavy's guy is with the 41st pick. RJ Lewis from St. John's. Is that a name that excites you? He's already worked out with Golden State. And Cam Jones, kind of a sleeper pick, despite being a really good player at the collegiate level. Let's break this thing down, and let's start with who I think is going to be the Warriors pick with 41, if he's available. The name is picking up steam. First of all, it's very interesting how in the NBA draft, the second round is comprised of players typically that are asked to be a lot of different things in the NBA based on what they were in college. Like you got the second round guys like Janai Broome potentially from Auburn, Walter Clayton, the national champion from Florida, if he dips that far, RJ Lewis, who was the star of a 2-seed St. John's team. Players that were dominant in college that are going to be asked to go to the NBA and carve out a role player type role, if they even play at this level. So you have those guys. Then you have the players in college that weren't stars that project kind of to do the same thing in the NBA. Think of someone like Alex Caruso, who averaged like 8 points at Texas A&M, role player in college, role player in the NBA. It worked out. And then you have players that haven't done anything yet, but they're like 7'3". You see those guys come around all the time or have just extreme athleticism, but never really put it together to average more than like 9 points in college. It's all over the board in the second round. It's a complete crapshoot. 3 players that I think will be available at 41. It's Sion James from Duke, who I believe is Dunleavy's guy. He was a legit 4th option for the Blue Devils, but has a ton of qualities that the Warriors like. I'm going to run through that. Second, RJ Lewis from St. John's, who was also worked out with the Warriors, and then Cam Jones from Marquette. For Sion James, Dunleavy's a Duke guy. We all know this. He was on a national champion Duke team. He was on the squad that lost to Mike Davis's Indiana team, where Jay Williams got fouled on the 3. What a game that was. Boozer airball the layup. Come on, Boozer. His kids got to make up for that if they play Indiana in the tournament, because that was rough from Boozer. But this is a Mike Dunleavy guy. I promise you that Dunleavy has watched many, many Duke games in the past couple of seasons, although he was at Tulane for a while, so only got a sliver of time to see Sion James. But with how good Duke was this year, scouting Cooper Flagg and some of the other guys, Con Knipple, that Duke has, and with Dunleavy just being from the Brotherhood, he's watched some Duke basketball, and he's looking for diamonds in the rough, because for a long time, Dunleavy has known that he's not picking Malachi or picking Con Knipple or Cooper Flagg for that matter. He's just not getting any of these 3. So you would have to think that Sion caught his eye first, and he checks a ton of boxes that Steve Kerr is probably checking as well. Not going to be a star, but a potential ready role player from day one, and a two-way player that is super tenacious defensively and has grown his offensive game despite averaging less points at Duke, just 8, as compared to Tulane 14. And you say, Chuck, he averaged 8 points at the collegiate level. That's not what the Warriors need. They need someone that can come in and pack a punch. I'll tell you why I think that Sion makes sense. Like I said, not going to be a star, but I think he's going to be a ready-made role player from day one and has turned himself into a much better shooter, a significantly better shooter. And that's going to be his swing skill. Like if he can shoot at the next level, I think he's going to be legit, because the other thing he brings to the table, that the downhill attacking, good balance, the defense that I told you about, he attacks it off the catch, has a physical presence about him at 6'6", 220, a good handle, makes simple and correct decisions. Steve Kerr loves that. Reads the floor and plays within the flow of the offense. A good connecting player. Oh my God, if Steve Kerr read this scout, he'd be saying, get him on the horn right now, Dunleavy. And maybe he already has. But he fits so much of what the Warriors are looking for in a player that brings good positional size, that can do a little bit of everything, that can stuff a stat sheet, and is also kind of a buy low candidate because he did not dominate the collegiate level, which scares you a little bit. He averaged 8 points. Offensively, like, what's he going to do at the next level? But shooting is the big thing in which we evaluate any non-center or traditional post player. Can he shoot? If he's a guard and can't shoot, sure, there are Russell Westbrooks that are Hall of Famers from time to time, but for the most part, you got to be able to shoot. You gotta, or it just really hinders the abilities, the levels to which you can take your game. And Sion James is one of those guys that if he can shoot consistently at the next level, I think he's going to be really good. We're breaking down his shooting numbers coming up. We're talking about, in a nutshell, why I'm starting to really like the pick after doing a deeper dive, all the things that Sion really brings to the table, and just some of the mechanics that he has as well. And that's coming up. Then we'll get into RJ Lewis from St. John's. And we also got Cam Jones from Marquette to talk about today. It's all about the NBA draft ahead of the June 25th, 2025 NBA draft in Brooklyn at Barclays. The Warriors traded away their first round pick to Miami to get Andrew Wiggins, but they do have a second round pick, 41st overall, as they try to add to some of the sleepers that they found in the second round, most notably Draymond Green back in 2012, who Sion James, I mean, stuffs a stat sheet like Draymond Green did in college. Let's put it that way. Let's talk about him. It's coming up on Locked On Warriors.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that is where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app, folks. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop managing your money and start building wealth. When you use Monarch, you realize these insights that just tell you how much you're spending on certain things, streaming services, deliveries, whatever it may be. It breaks it down, and you can budget smarter and save more. It's convenient. You don't have to juggle multiple apps, and you can easily collaborate with your partner and track shared and personal accounts. You can set goals and stay on the same page with no stress at all. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. You'll get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Let's get back to the show. More on Sion James, the former Duke Blue Devil, who started off at Tulane, averaged 14 points for the Green Wave in the American Athletic Conference, transferred to Duke, and he was I guess shadowed behind 3 potential top 10 picks, but he can play. He's very good. He was an excellent player that knew what he was supposed to do, get out of the way, make things happen, knock down open threes, play gritty basketball. And in short, kind of what Steve Kerr wants is 6'7" Jonathan Kuminga to do. 6'6" Sion James can do those things. He can be a connecting presence within the offense. At how high a level, at what level do you cap his ceiling? It's tough to say because for Duke, he just didn't really showcase a ton of scoring outbursts. He had 1 double-digit scoring game in 5 NCAA tournament contests. Just 1. Like I said, really good passer, an unselfish connecting player, knows where to find his spots on the floor, and could be someone that works well with Steph Curry. And being a fifth-year guy should be someone that if he is an NBA player at all, which I believe he is, he should be ready from day one to come in and contribute. Just in terms of the IQ of the game, in terms of his physicality at that position, like brings all these attributes that I think will work from day one unless the speed of the game is just too fast for him. But he seems like someone that processes it pretty well in real time, just smart, knows what he's doing out there. But again, shooting is that swing skill that we talked about. And how is his shooting? Like overall, does he project to being a really good NBA shooter? A couple of years ago, you ask any scout that question, they say no, he's just not a good shooter. That's why he's probably not going to be an NBA player, and probably why he was at Tulane in the first place. Has a ton of great attributes, but when you're 6'6" and a guard and can't really put the ball in the basket from 3, it really affects your ceiling. 31% was his percentage from 3 through his first 3 collegiate years. Not good. 31%. We don't need that in Golden State. That's what Gary Payton was like 32%. Just sign Gary Payton at that point. You don't need to take a flyer at 41 on a commodity that could bring the same things to the table. But in his 2 seasons since, one of them being in the ACC, where he was also a first-team All-ACC defender, may have been second, but an All-ACC team defender, he shot 40% in those last couple of seasons on 5.2 attempts per 100 possession. Not an extremely high volume, but it was double what he did in his first 3 seasons in terms of when he had the basketball shooting it, and shows he's capable. And the fact that it's trended upwards so quickly from 31 to 40, you would have to believe that there's a little something to that. And if that's who he is, he could be huge, huge for the Warriors. Any Duke fan knows this. Good defender. I talked about it. He's versatile, can really guard 1 through 3 on switches, has quick hands, has good balance, really good knowledge of scouting reports. Again, Steve Kerr hears that and bang, I want this guy. He's a good rim helper for most guards his size. He has good feels and fundamental. The burning question, why would this guy fall down to number 41? I think a couple things come into play. Is he legit when it comes to shooting the basketball? There was not a ton of volume there. He was someone that may get 3-4 3-pointers a game and knock down a couple. And next thing you know, he's at 40% with volume. Like, is this someone that can legit knock down 5-6 threes in a given game, or is that just not him? And if it's not him, he can still be really effective. But the biggest thing is just that he was a role player in college. And how do the role players in college translate to role players in the NBA? It's hard to say because there's not really a ton of them for the most part that are getting drafted, at least. Like I said, Janai Broom, Auburn Tiger, who is one of the top players in the country, that's someone that's falling to the second round. Typically, you don't get guys averaging, 8, 5, and 3. But again, Alex Caruso has shown you can do it. And this is someone that makes sense. I mean, let's go back to another kind of role player in college. And whether you want to call him a role player or not, I guess just depends. But for me, anyone that's averaging under like 10 points in college and isn't starting typically as a role player, Devin Booker was one of those guys. And maybe as I look this up real time, I am proven to be an idiot. But I know for a fact he came off the bench. And I want to say that the numbers were nothing outstanding. Like if you went off that alone on that 38-1 team, then you weren't incredibly impressed. He was the average 10 exactly. But averaged 10 points and played 21 minutes per game, like was really good at Kentucky, but he averages 25 in the league. Like you don't see that a ton to where you go 10 to 25, but he was on a really good team. I mean, I just said they were 38-1. This Duke team was really good. They choked to Houston, the Final Four. They had it, but that was a national championship caliber team. And this Sion James guy was an important piece. So in a nutshell, he's 6'6", 220. He shot 41% from three this season, a 2.5 to 1 assist to turnover ratio. He could finish above the rim. He's powerful, can get downhill. On defense, he's got good frame. He's got good length. He's got great intellect that allows him to impact the game, whether he's on the ball or away from it. We like that. And this quote that stuck out in the scouting report I was reading is, he's the role player you want, or the role player rather, that a team wants is a guy who does the things that Sion James does. So we'll see about that. So if you're a Warriors fan and you believe that the Sion James hype, who has already worked out for the team and who obviously has the ties to Mike Dunleavy just based off the brotherhood, and who could be lingering there at 41, if you want to learn more about him, go check out the tape, talk to some Duke fans that you may know. And Sion James, let me know your thoughts in the comments on whether he is someone that would make sense and get you excited if you are a Golden State Warriors fan. RJ Lewis and Cam Jones. RJ Lewis of St. John's is someone that the Warriors have already worked out. Cam Jones has not been connected yet, but is most likely going to be around at that time. Was very effective in college. Again, an older player and someone that I think Steve Kerr could potentially like. So we're going to talk about him as well. RJ Lewis, Cam Jones, that is coming up on Locked on Warriors.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
NBA fans, you know what time it is. We've been telling you about it. It's the NBA championship, and that means DoorDash is bringing the heat with slam dunk deals for DashPass members during these 2025 NBA championships. It's called They Swoosh You Save. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a game, DashPass members score a 3-piece free crispy tender combo from Wingstop the very next day. All you got to do is place a $20 or more order. Use the code Wingstop50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Yes! Crispy, delicious, totally free. Offers valid noon to midnight the day after a game. Terms apply. So after an epic game, if we get one in the NBA championship, 50 points, you're not getting a 50 burger. You're getting a 50-piece wing. I mean, technically, it's a 3-piece crispy tender combo. But come on, that's delicious. That's the play. Sign up for DashPass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. This time, when a player scores 50 or more in a playoff game, DashPass members get that 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the very next day. It's free with a 20-plus order. Code Wingstop50. That's DashPass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms do apply. All right, on to Rick Pitino's gem from this season that ended up the season for St. John's, losing in the second round to Arkansas, the 10 seed, and also missing out on the final buzzer. He was not in the game, mainly due to the fact that he could not really put the ball in the basket towards the end of that game, and for the most part, the entire game. That's the one thing about RJ Lewis that you don't love, is just the fact that he has never really been a consistent shooter from three-point land. 33% in 24-25, just 31% for his career. That is a span that took him from the Atlantic 10, where he averaged 11 points as a freshman at Massachusetts, to the Big East in St. John's, where he averaged 11 points in his sophomore season, and 18, a second-team All-American, and one of the best players in the Big East as a junior. Again, 43% from the floor, 33% from three. I always want to look at the free throws to see, like, all right, if they're decent at free throws, maybe they're pretty good in the mid-range too. He was 74% after going 75 and 78 his first couple seasons. So give or take, he hits about 3/4 of his free throws, about 75%. Good rebounder, averaged 7 a game this season, and he can handle it pretty well for his size. 6'7", 196 pounds. Warriors have already worked out RJ Lewis. Let me know in the comments what you think, but some of the reports on him, it's defense. And the Warriors, who had the #1 defense after Jimmy Butler joined the fold, they got to find replacements for Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler and some of these guys down the road. And Lewis is one of those guys that has a little bit of experience, 3 years at the collegiate level, maybe not the super senior like some that have played 5, but 3 years to where he's not a project by any means. He's probably someone that can come in and defensively hold his own from day one. And the Warriors are going to need these types of players in the future. And look, it's the NBA draft. Like, sure, you'd love for this 41st overall pick to contribute in a meaningful way next year. But we're sitting here talking about Quentin Post being a pretty effective second-round pick, because he was. I mean, anyone that can give you some burn in a playoff game as a rookie, that's a decent second-round pick for the most part, because the large majority of them are down in the G League for the entirety of the season, or at least not really contributing in the playoffs. But it's the defensive versatility that is Lewis's calling card. He's got positional size, can guard multiple positions effectively, good at help side reads, can disrupt passing lanes, times blocks and steals pretty well. Just a good defender, but he is very aggressive on defense, and sometimes it can lead to foul trouble, which right now you wouldn't think would be a big deal. They'd want him in there for his toughness and just his ability to get dirty, to be kind of scrappy. Pretty well-rounded wing prospect, because he could put the basketball in the bucket. Usually it was just from, driving. It wasn't as much from deep. We talked about that. But he does have strong two-way potential. He can score and rebound. He's physical. Talked about his physicality. Has a very high motor. Plays hard. Finishes around the rim. Good offensive versatility. Can do a little bit of everything. Back to the basket game. For a guard, yeah, not bad. Defensively tough. Long wingspan. And impacts plays off the ball. Again, we're talking about players that Steve Kerr likes. And now that we know it's not the ISO players like Kuminga, and we've known that for a long time, who would he be looking for? Someone like this, where, again, you hear impacts plays off the ball and defends multiple positions. Offensively, what does he do well? He averaged 18 points a game and can't really shoot the three. He's got to be good at some things. Does have the 3-level scoring. Pretty reliable mid-range jumper, not great, but reliable. Can finish through contact. The 3-point shooting, as I mentioned, it's improving. It went from 20% his sophomore season at St. John's on 3.7 attempts per game, or rather 2 attempts per game, to 33% on 4 attempts per game. So doubled his 3-point output in terms of attempts and improved his percentage by 13 percentage points. So he's improving in that regard, but not good. Good taker to the bucket, a good driver, as we say. Utilizes his size and his physicality, gets downhill. He's a rim runner. He draws fouls, good at off-ball reads, cuts, posts up, like I said, and then disrupts and plays defense. Can score from the high post, can score from the low post, either a power play where he uses that 6'7" frame and his crafty ability to, back down a bigger defender, or he's got a nice turnaround jumper. Excellent wing rebounder. He's capable of getting his own on the offensive glass. I mentioned the defense, a 6'10" wingspan, an 8'7" standing reach. So he kind of defends up a position. He's like a guard that can defend up to a 4. Competes on the glass. Really good on the defensive rebounding aspect of all this and then gets it and can handle it. So he pushes it as well. And did I mention he's tough and has good instincts and good reflexes? But the areas for improvement, 3-point shooting, passing, a first step, and his turnover rate sometimes does too much and dribbles inefficiently, leading to turnovers. Is that just because he did too much at St. John's? That's something the coaching staff, who has now worked out this guy, is going to have to decide. But overall, he's a high potential wing prospect, has a nice blend of size, athleticism, scoring ability, good defensive versatility, rebounding, could be a valuable asset on both ends of the floor, needs to refine his 3-point shot, needs to work on his ball handling. But if he can do those things, could be a key contributor at the NBA level. On to Cam Jones, who played at Marquette and averaged 18 points a game. Why I think Cam Jones could be someone that makes a little bit of sense is, A, the best ability in terms of finding someone to draft is availability. If you put your eggs into a bunch of baskets of players that aren't going to be there at 41 overall, then you're kind of in trouble. Cam Jones is one of those guys that could be there. And if he's not, again, the Warriors have worked out some players that may not, or that may be there rather at 41, and they don't pick them anyway, and could be players that get the invite to camp, and we'll see what happens from there. But Cam Jones is someone that just kind of has the feel of a veteran, very savvy player out there, works off the pick and roll, splits the traps, has a good Euro step, good nifty is the right word. Nifty ball handler, has just crafty moves to kind of free up some shots for himself. A deep bag. That's kind of how it was described. He's got a deep bag, and if you played Cam Jones in one-on-one, he'd find a lot of ways to beat you. But with all the moves and abilities that he has, there were some efficiency issues overall throughout his career. The playmaking is kind of what I'm getting at. He's crafty, he can score, he can pass, and he's selfless. He had a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio in some of the games that Tyler Kolek missed a season ago. Then this year, he ran point guard full time. He went 3.3 to 1 on the assist to turnover ratio. Very good. Had good feel, found his center on rolls to the rim. You like that? Trace Jackson Davis also was good with his pace, knew how to navigate screens, and would find cutters and shooters. Again, these words that I'm saying, they just align with everything that Steve Kerr has said that he's looking for. He wants Kuminga to find Steph. I'm sorry that I keep using Kuminga as an example. He just has laid out with Kuminga so many parts of JK's game that he's not necessarily looking for. Even if you are someone that can go out and give you 25 points, he still may not play you if you don't do the things that he wants to do. So I'm looking at players in this draft that kind of fit that mold. Can finish at the rim a little bit. Has a dominant left hand. Sometimes can get to a little hook shot and has a little soft floater, but that's not really the big part of his game. The spot up shooting says that Jones made 38% of his spot up threes in 4 seasons of college combined. Has deep range, can shoot off screens and handoffs. And since he's a really good ball handler, he can attack off closeouts and he can make plays off the dribble and he can find others. Steph Curry being a beneficiary. He's a good defender, has a strong frame, likes getting stops. He's like everyone likes getting stops, but basically treats it as if, he's scoring when he gets stops on defense, takes a lot of pride in that game and shows a lot of passion out there. But there are some concerns in his game. It's the reason why he's going to fall to the second round potentially. One, athleticism. Is he that high-level athlete that can play at the next level? I mean, there were gripes about Ty Jerome, someone at Virginia that was really good that, again, had all these qualities that you're like, I really like Ty Jerome. Like, he kind of play make for others, can knock down some shots. He's a very scrappy defender that plays hard, that has some decent size, I guess, but he's just not that athletic. I don't know. And he's turned out to be a pretty good player. And clearly Steve Kerr liked him a lot based on how many minutes he played him, being a two-way guy. Although I don't think he was on that roster for the playoffs, which is kind of crazy with how much Steve played him. But anyways, solid athlete, but nothing special in that regard. Doesn't have an explosive first step, vertical leaping ability at the rim, not really. He doesn't dunk, even at the college level. He's a J guy. He's a jumper guy. And then that's where the concern comes up about that J. Shooting off the dribble, made 36% of his dribble jumper threes entering his senior season, which is a good number, but as a senior, only made 20% of his 70 attempts. So you got to look at, again, let's go to that free throw number for Cam Jones, because we talked about it with RJ Lewis. Sometimes if your 3-point numbers are all over the place in your career, look at the free throws and tell me how good they are. And in 4 seasons, he was a career 67% free throw shooter, 72% as a junior at Marquette and 64% as a senior at Marquette. Was a second-team All-American, and again, he averaged 19.2 points per game, 6 assists, 4.5 rebounds, didn't turn it over a ton, and was a very high usage player that shot 16 times per game, 6 threes per game, and shot just 31% from 3 as a senior after shooting 40%, 36%, and 39% his first 3 seasons. So after 3 seasons, you thought he was a great 3-point shooter. It was not a great campaign his senior year, which paired in with the free throws. I think it's safe to say that could be an Achilles heel of his game. And for all the qualities that I just mentioned that I think Steve Kerr really likes, he's small and he's sketchy when it comes to the 3 ball. So I don't know if Cameron Jones is the guy. RJ Lewis seems like someone that they worked out that could be a decent pick, but my money's on Sion James. Let me know what you think. Is that who Mike Dunleavy is eyeing? The former Duke Blue Devil who made it to the Final Four this season. Is he going to be the Warriors pick at 41st overall in the NBA draft? Locked On Warriors, thank you all for tuning into this live edition. You can find our show on YouTube and wherever you get your audio podcasts. Appreciate you in the comments. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Evan Giddings on the show.